right before we got on this show. Jerry responded to it, right? And in Jerry's response, he spoke very favorably about LeBron. He thinks that he said he believes he's definitely a great athlete, and he feels like he's a great person. And I'm paraphrasing it. If you want to see the actual, article, let me see. I'll make sure I put the article in the link. It was basically recorded from a podcast that I guess Jerry does every week. In regards to his the game that's about to happen, but so he starts off. He's very, very favorable. Talks very favorably about who LeBron James is, and then when it gets to the part where I guess the interviewer was kind of pressing him a little bit more to have a actual response to LeBron. I'm gonna read to you what basically was said. So they were quoting what LeBron said, and then he said, asked if he had any thoughts on James' comments. Jones stood strong in his admiration for James, while allowing that they may be kindred spirits in how they have used their attention and platform to help others. But this is what I thought was pretty interesting. Jerry said, I've just given them to you. When they asked him, what his response was to LeBron James, he said, certainly he has influence. And just because of all of the above, his accomplishments, how he utilizes his sport, he has utilized his platform, and how we have done it. He's enhanced. He's made a lot of people a lot of money, and I hope I have too. And that was his response. And so, two things with this, right? One, I really have I think the more this goes on, or the more this stays in the media, I titled this Jerry Jones apology, and I put a question mark and an exclamation point. Like, to me, for Jerry, this goes away if he just apologizes and says, hey, that was wrong. That was a 14-year-old boy, and, doing something, ignorant. I don't stand for that. I don't agree with that, yada, 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 and move on. Right. So, to me, that would be the response I would say that I would like to hear if I was expecting Jerry Jones. And then the other thing that I think he alluded to is, I think he feels that because he is paying, and I'm really trying to choose my words wisely, choosing to pay black men. There's a lot of black men that play for the Cowboys, have played for the Cowboys, have stood by, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys over the years. A lot of their fans are brown skinned, black people. And, again, I don't know all his endeavors. Maybe he's invested. It sounds like he's alluding to the fact that he shouldn't have to, apologize or take a stance on this because he's paying black people. And that's kind of what I'm getting from that. I don't know if I'm reading that wrong. Is that what you're hearing, Lasagna, or am I just so far off base?
I don't feel like you far off base or not, because sometimes you don't apologize because you may not be sorry, or you may think that's what I did then. I don't feel I need to. I feel like I made my retribution. I'm paying black people. I'm seeing about black people now, so don't worry about what I did back then. And whether that's right or wrong, it is what it is. But it seems like we get drugged. Like we get drugged for weeks and months, and your career on the line, and then they booing you and they doing this, and yours just going to the rug. I think that's more of the bigger issue. It's like, okay, just treat us all fair. People do stuff, let's let it go. But why do my career, my life, everything weigh in the balance over one thing I do? I tell somebody, I look at a movie and it's like everything's on the line. And it's week after week after week. You know, hey, what do you think about this? What's this? What's this? What's this? And Jerry, they got the picture. It's him. He didn't deny it's him. Hey, you know, he made a lot of money for black people. I'm making a lot of money for him too. Let's let it go. But you dragging and digging in Kyrie. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you this? What's the motivation? What is that motivation? Are you trying to tell us, keep us in our place and say, this is what you're good for and don't be stepping out of line because we got a way to get you back in line? That's how it feels. And when you run in systems, it's like, say whatever I want to say. I do whatever I want to do. I made a picture, okay. And, you know, what I'm apologizing for. It was what it was back then. I'm making up for it now. Or if you're not sorry, or, you know, I don't know. But yeah. I do think that we don't do the same in the media that we do for all people. Like, if you want to extend grace to all of them. Don't be dragging us when they do something silly. And something like what he did, what Kyrie did, post to some, go watch this, that ain't even equivalent to standing in the picture and you pushing all the black people. You know, and like I said, it was years ago. You know, that's neither here nor there because you have a lot of ideas when you're 14 and then when you're 122, you know, you change your mind and stuff. You know, you got a lot of time to think. So it's
but
just.
I think, but isn't the difference is like there's stuff that I've done, you know, as a young man that, you know, when I look back, or if someone were to ask me, hey, you know, do you agree with that, or do you still do, you know, think that's the right thing to do? I mean, I would honestly just come out and say no, like no, that was a young man doing, you know, with not as much wisdom, not understanding life, whatever. It's I think anybody. So regardless of race, you know, it's important to take accountability for what you do or don't do, right? And so, you know, and I think, and Jay Will, who's a basketball player or ex-basketball player, and he's a media announcer on ESPN, he's been really, really pushing this. He was pushing the Kyrie situation, you know, that it become, you know, more of a fair situation for him. And then on this situation, he actually came right out and asked Jerry Jones to apologize. Flat out, you know, again, 14 or not, you know, if it's something that you don't agree with or that you don't stand by, or you want us to believe that you're past that, then, you know, you should be able to apologize. And, you know, and I'm summing up his message. But I think, and I said this on one of our other shows, I don't think Jerry feels like he has to apologize because I don't think that he feels there's going to be any repercussions of it. And
no,
what I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead before I go forward.
No, I would just want to interject really quick. Why do the public really want an apology? Like, let's say I don't agree, let's say I still agree like that, I still think like that. Do we want an apology for public's sake, or do we want an apology for heart's sake? If your heart feel like you didn't do nothing wrong, and I still am racist, and I'm gonna be racist till I die, I just found a way to see about people, you know, they make me some good money, so whatever. Or do we want an apology because we want it heartfelt, or do we want an apology to appease and skate over the surface? Because sometimes you're going to say what you need to be said to keep your job. You're going to say what needs to be said to keep your income. Say what needs to be said to save your franchise. And sometimes I don't know if we're pushing the people to tell the truth, or we're just pushing them to say what we want to hear from them. And I think it's a difference, but sometimes I think we want something from people they're not capable of giving us. You want them to say, okay, we're going to make it right. We want to treat you fair. We want to do this. And sometimes that's really not the truth. Right. I'm not saying that's true in his case. I don't know him. And I don't think it's fair to sum up somebody's life. And I've never met him and I don't know him. But sometimes I do think as a public, do we want an apology so he can keep us, he want them to apologize so we can all think it's okay? Or do we want a real heartfelt apology? Sometimes I don't know. And if the person, you got a PR person, they be like, you better go out there and apologize and keep this money going. You got a lot of systems you support. And if the public turn on you, that's our job. And so you just apologize just to save face. So sometimes I don't know what the motivation is when we're pushing for an apology. Do we want them to make something right from the inside of us that's been wrong, or do we want them to feel it? And I think sometimes you just say it to keep your position, keep your money, keep your job. And I don't have nothing to say about that, you know.
And I'm glad Dion is here, man. I hope you can hear us, man. Can you hear us?
I can hear y'all. Me.
And
Yeah, we hear you good.
Sounding good. You looking good. Okay.
Oh, he back.
All right.
He's back.
Yeah, here's what I'd say to that, Lasagna, right? So I think that's a great point, right? I think the apology for some people would be to address, some of their own wounds about it. But I think for me, I just want the clarification. Like, if you don't apologize, I kind of know where you stand with it, or I will continue to have my assumption of where you stand, as a person with that. And then, what I was about to lead into, and I'm glad Dion was in here, or in here to hear this or speak to this. This was, something I feel like as the Black, brown community, when we have an opportunity to help somebody see the error in their ways, what strides or what things are we willing to go to help them understand that we want you to be accountable for the things you say and do. And so, part of that is, how many Cowboy fans, and again, how many Cowboy fans are willing, Black Cowboy fans, are willing to say, I'm not going to go to a game just to boycott and let Jerry Jones know, hey, it's we support you. Like, we've been supporting you for years. We are, in that comment that he made in that article, to me, underlined, it's about money. And I don't feel like, I feel like when the Colin Kaepernick situation came, he started off kind of siding with his team, kneeling with them. And then, when he got the pushback from, other people in Texas, that stopped. Like, we're not doing that because you're messing with our bottom line, you're messing with our money. And just like I brought up a couple of episodes, the Jewish man that was up there pretty much said what it really was. He was like, you have a choice between, standing by what you morally believe or, making this money, right? And so that's I think more of the dilemma here. Like, I feel like even if Jerry Jones feels like, what I did back then was incorrect, it would be hard for him to say that, because the other part of his contingency, the other people who he supports or who he caters to, are big of why, the Cowboys franchise is the number one franchise in the world right now, as far as, bringing money in and promotions and things like that. It's not just Black people and it's not just white people, but I know a lot of Black people who support that bottom line. So, Dion, just to kind of catch you up, I'm pretty sure you're familiar, probably already, got some questions, got all kinds of things in your mind about this, the Jerry Jones photo that came up. You seen the photo, right?
I did.
Okay. LeBron, brought it back into the news because it actually had died. I'd say over the holidays, I didn't really hear anything else, too much about it. And LeBron, I think, did a masterful job of interjecting it back in, or at least bringing it back to our attention. And what we've been having a conversation about is, one, the fairness. Just like when we were talking about the Kyrie Irving situation, there was a lot of hoops to jump through. There was a lot of accountability built into what Kyrie had to do to keep his job, to get back to where he needed. And it seemed that, to me, of course, that, Jerry Jones and to a lot of other people, that Jerry Jones really didn't have, he stood behind the fact that he was a 14-year-old. I think we all agree with that. That, when we were young, we did things that we probably weren't proud of. But just like, when you came on, those things that I'm not proud of, or that I know was just blatantly wrong or not good, I'm a grown man and I can say that they weren't good, and that's not who I am, now. And so that's where we're at this particular point of the conversation. Really curious to hear from a diehard DC for life Cowboy fan. Your feeling and your take on this situation.
I don't think that it could really be fair to or draw the comparison to Kyrie did and Jerry Jones did. Because Kyrie is a grown man and Jerry Jones at that point was a little boy. But from the flip side, had they both been grown, both been little boys, it still wouldn't have been fair. Still, because there's the other. And so from that aspect of it, I really didn't put a stock into it because I said to myself, that was a long time ago, and I in the memory don't have any recollection of him doing anything really like a foul of us as Black people. You know what I mean? And so from that aspect, Jerry Jones always been about business, whether in hiring controversial players or not hiring controversial players or doing things like that or whatever. It's all about the money. And so I don't expect any different from him. You know what I mean? So, if somebody has a long history or track record of being a racist or whatever, then you expect them. But if somebody has a long history of being about business, that's what you check. And so much give him a pass, say, but I'm not finna crucify him over something like that, because I beat Black people when I was 14. That ain't I'm a racist, and it just means that at that point, my view and mindset about how I looked at, I viewed situations different, just like his was, and it is that happened or what, and so. Like I said,
but so my question to you then is, how do we know his opinion is different? Has he ever said that? and would that matter to you if it is different or not?
It would definitely matter. But said he hasn't. If somebody's really that way, a hard racist or like Trump or somebody like that, it's continue to show their thought viewpoint on difference is going to continue to dictate that position, and I just don't see in opportunities that he's had to be like, this is what I stand for, this is what I don't stand for. Him going on that, you know what I mean? He just aligned himself in that to me.
And I think I'm in agreement with you. I know Lasagna is in agreement with you that, again, I don't think it's about him being held accountable for what he did when he was 14 years old. But I think it's, did you see the interview from Jay Williams and Stephen A. today?
I didn't have a chance to look at it as yet, but I've seen several things that Steve has said. He made a lot of good points on both sides of it, whatever, just like a lot of things on sides of it as well. That, there are things that he has done that he should be held accountable for, and there's some things he hadn't done that he shouldn't, be held, just because nobody was, doing anything different either. And so it just, like I said, to me, it's about track record. And this is, if, like I said, if had the track record of being us and not for what have you, then yeah, definitely, I'm gonna go ahead and turn in my heart and just support other things. But
man, I don't know, man. I think you're DC for life. So I definitely appreciate that viewpoint. Completely understand and agree with it. I think the only caveat for me is, and this is what I think Jay Will and Stephen A. said. Well, I know Jay Will said it. to me, Jerry continues to miss the opportunity to be very clear about where he stands with that. And for someone who employs a lot of Black people, that, a lot of Black people pour into his franchise, a lot of Black people play on this. If you take all the Black people off the Cowboys, y'all definitely ain't nothing,
Ain't no team.
Ain't no team. And there's a lot of players. I mean, I know Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, a lot of players that come to battle for Jerry, like on a regular basis. So I know how they seem to feel about him, as a person. And I know that bodes well for him. But I think the curiosity for me is, and for a lot of people, is why he will not, just draw a line and say, hey, that was wrong back then. We shouldn't have been out there. If I had it all over to do it again, I would do something a little different. But
it's just he's the same business.
Huh?
It's more, like I said, more about the business aspect of it, and at the end of the day, that would definitely into his business situation, because he himself personally might not feel, anything against Black people, but he does big business with people I'm sure are avid racists, and so it's just like walking that line. And sometimes when you're doing business on a level like that, you gotta walk a line, and you gotta keep your business separate. Regardless of who you personally feel about the situation, if it hurt your business and your line, sometimes you bullets. And it's because a lot of us and a lot of others want him to stand up and this or that. Standing up when you got so lose, it's not like it is for us. We stand on our principles because we don't have as to lose. We don't own, anything. You know what I mean? So we can lose what we got. I don't see him able to live the life we live. You know what I'm saying? And if he lost anything he had, he wouldn't be walking our.
But isn't that the problem? And and I think culturally, what this talks about, and what we've been talking about with the Kyrie situation, is Kyrie was put in a position to where whatever he believed at that particular time, and you were very, very vocal about this a couple of weeks ago. If he believed it, if whatever at that particular point, his pockets were threatened. As much as and I think the big overall lesson with this is, I don't feel Jerry feels his pockets are threatened, right? I mean, from that standpoint. And to your point, I'm with you. And I have just read an article from an interview that he did earlier today, where they inquired of him of what he thought about LeBron's comments, and his only response was, LeBron brings a lot of finances or financial influence to his platform. I do the same. And so he did take it, like you said, right to the finances and the business of it. Like, he never responded to, the actual comment of it. So, so you're confirming definitely my gut and my feeling, which is, there's definitely money behind it. But again, in society, and this being a Christian broadcast, and that shows a gap in how we do things and how things work
now, to be honest, people can't handle the truth. I'm just going to say it. People can't handle the truth. They ask you for the truth, but they can't handle the truth. And the truth is, we all have a certain persona that we talk about to protect our families, protect our money, to protect whatever we're trying to protect. If you say everything you felt about everything you felt, you wouldn't have your job, you wouldn't be married, you wouldn't have anything. So the truth is, people can't handle the truth per se. And we want to hold people that got a lot of money accountable for the truth, but even us that don't have a whole lot of money like them can't handle the truth. You want me to say what say to pacify how you feel, to make you feel better about you. If I really told you how I feel, you probably gonna stone, shoot, cut, or kill. But I have enough sense to know, shut your mouth, get that money. Whatever you feel is irrelevant. They can't handle the truth, so don't be on here pretending like you're gonna give them the truth. Give them whatever they want to hear to keep this bottom line coming. That's the real deal. No matter how you look at it, we all have certain fine lines that we walk because we don't go into our job. I can't stand you, boss. You know you racist. You know you overlook people. You know you mistreat people. You know you evil. You ain't going in there doing that. I'm just saying. But people, in general, we can't handle the truth. But you want somebody to be accountable to make you feel better about whatever issue you hold true to, even though you your own self have stuff that you're not going to be 100% about because you know the repercussions and what will happen. So we say this with these different positions, but the truth is people can't handle the truth. That's the bottom line. People can't handle the truth. So you have to give them what they can handle to keep your money, to keep your position, even saved people, even Christians, even pastors or whatever. Sometimes what you feel, you got to push it down, stuff it down, put it in the back, or you will lose everything you work for in the public court of law. Because people, what you say can get you destroyed. That's the bottom line. It can get your money cut off, get your life cut off. It can get stuff cut off. And people don't want to risk how they really feel to endanger their children, their legacy, their life, and whatever they're standing for. And they're not going to say how they really feel deep down because people really can't handle that, to be honest. That's what I really feel in my gut. People can't handle the truth that they're asking everybody else to give. They can't really handle it. Because what if I do say I feel like this? And then all my money is gone. So my publicist say, you better say you sorry. You better apologize because you got 10 other companies standing on your back that's making money off you. I don't give a so-and-so what you think for real. This is what you going to say in public.
Right. But then again, when you are in business, that pretty much is your God. So to ask him to walk the same line that we walk is not really fair either. Because we serve God and walk in a certain integrity because of, the God we serve. The God he serves is money and business. And so people like that don't say things the way we see them. And when they don't, I'm saying we're not going to be able to come to an agreement because we have a different aim in mind. I'm saying we have different that we stand for, don't fight for. And they're just gonna line up all of them. We can be similar, we can to where we can coexist, but they're not gonna exactly line up because like they say, behind fortune is the crime. Period.
So let me ask you this, because Sonia, I think Dion, both of your points is very valid. What I'm wondering though is so people can't handle the truth, right? Kyrie got in trouble for speaking his truth. So in retrospect, are we saying that he shouldn't speak his truth or he should learn to not speak his truth in order to make sure he doesn't have to go through the accountability or things that he had to go through, which is kind of bringing us full circle with this, right? Because that's the question to me. Kyrie spoke his truth, or really he didn't even speak it. He posted something and received a whole bunch of backlash with it, which, again, he got opportunity to kind of share some of his truth through that backlash. But, and then we have another person, a person of influence, and that's where, I'm seeing the issue, right? Because this person has influence, they can say or do whatever, and it seems like it's okay because there's no one that's going to hold them accountable, and that's what I would say. Now, again, Jerry, to me, is being very wise by not saying anything, right? He's not saying I agree with it, I'm not, or disagreeing with it. I think there's probably some wisdom on his part. He can let you can assume whatever you want at that particular time. But, to your point, I think society is looking for him to, get to a point and you brought up Trump earlier, Dion. When he came into office, it was a line that was drawn. There was a lot of people that, were quiet or probably handled things or didn't say things that were emboldened to speak their truth because he was in office. And again, Jerry wasn't one of those, but, to me, there's definitely your silence sometimes speaks just as much truth as what you say out of your mouth, right? The things you don't speak to, the things you don't, address, can be just as concerning or just as indicting as what you say, and again, being in this time where it seems like everybody is saying whatever their truth is and speaking their mind, again, there's that. I think to sum this all up for me, there is, I'm not going to say seems to be a accountability and punishment for you saying what you're saying on this side of things, and then the level of accountability for an ownership of saying or not saying on this end, what you believe in or trust in. And I think my final thought with this is, although you're absolutely right, Lasagna, that people can't handle the truth or that conversation, especially and I think about marriage, like you don't get healing until somebody says something truthful, like and says like, I got a problem with this or I feel this, right? And me personally, I rather understand from a person he's racist or not racist. That helps me understand how I want to deal with them. It's not even the fact that I won't deal with them. I just know where that person is coming from and how to have those conversations, how to have conversations with them, and it without, I guess, the truth being exposed, it's kind of hard to deal with it, right? Like if you're walking around and you're acting like you're not racist all your life, and then situation pops up and some racism, and you really want to say something, right? It's going to come out in other ways and other things. It's going to come out in that relationship. So I do think that as a society, maybe that's part of it. Maybe we got to get to the point where people can speak their truth, and we can at least have conversations about it, because racism, for example, to me comes from a place of ignorance. And this leads me into like what our next topic is tonight, which is the situation with religion and Hebrew Israelites